And together with Rick, we look at how do we help you roll your own stones away. It's not us rolling all stones, but what can you tell you to help you roll your own stones away? That's basically it.
Thank you, Junior. That's very good. Penny. Can you talk, Pen? Penny can't talk.
No, she may be in a coffee shop. She sent a message. She's busy in a coffee shop. It's a bit noisy around her.
Oh, I see. Okay. I didn't see that. Okay, I get that now. Which, I think my my system's running a bit slow today. I was on a call earlier and it also just gave me a little bit of trouble. William, you've got 30 seconds to say hello to everyone and just introduce yourself quickly.
Afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you, James. My name is William, and I'm running an organization called Vexus Park, and Vexus Park is a digital college where we train people, especially kids, on coding and robotics and other IT-related courses for the community. I thank you.
Thank you, James. Now, we've also got another newcomer. His name is Hasifa Nampija. Hasifa, I noticed you haven't got your camera on. Or you may, I can't see you, but you're very welcome to quickly introduce yourself.
Okay. Can you see me now? My camera is on.
Oh, is it on? Okay, I'm a bit of a technological disaster today. I can see James. What's happening?
No, she's there. We can see her.
Oh, okay, great. I'm sorry. Maybe mine's just a little bit too complex. Oh, there I can see you. Okay, welcome. And say hello. I'm going to give you a minute because we haven't met you before.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, everyone. And it's been, I'm honored to be on this platform today. My name is Hasifa Nampija, and I'm a director for a healthcare company, recruitment agency. And yes, as a leader, I'm honored to be here and to learn more about leadership.
Thank you so much, Hasifa. And I really appreciate you coming to join us. So we'll look forward to insights. It's a very relaxed format. I just really put the slides up and then we talk to that. We tell stories around that and we share experiences and examples around the slides. And there are very few slides. There are only 5 today. So that's really good. And finally, Frances, do you want to quickly say hello and explain how you fit into the picture? It's nice to have you here as well, of course.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Frances Odimigo. I'm from Nigeria, and I work with Rick as his marketing executive. So anywhere he needs help with, putting together his events and, doing outreaches, I'm the person who helps him out with that.
Thanks, Frances. Okay, guys, we'll fly into this now. We've done the introductions, and I'm going to get straight into this. Just for those who are new, I've started this platform a couple of weeks ago now, and I live on a farm, can you believe, in the middle of South Africa, very remotely. And I've been working on a project here, sort of a legacy project, but I'm really interested in developing leadership, not only in my own country, but from around the world. And I'm particularly interested in early and mid-career professionals, graduates that have either just been appointed to a new leadership role or even just a new job. We actually chatting to some guys in Ireland at this stage about really settling in graduates into new roles. So yeah, first 5 years of a leadership role, and then you have what you call your mid-career role, and that's from 5 to 15 years. And the idea there is to actually provide people with a platform very early on in their career that they can then use again and again and again, because we know, well, history tells us that people on average spend or have about 6, 7, 8 career jobs. And every time you go into a new job, you're experiencing a different situation. But if you have the same sort of framework to take you through that new situation, that is what I help people with, is to adapt very quickly. And I haven't got this slide up now, but essentially it takes on average 6 months to settle into a new role. Your first 3 months, you're consuming value, and your next 3 months, you're actually creating value. So after 6 months, you're actually only breaking even in a new role. So that is worthwhile remembering. Now, if we can speed that process up, that onboarding process, instead of 3 months, to maybe make it 2 months, and then you're up and running, we can potentially cut off 2 months off the whole 6 months process of onboarding people and making them or getting them to a position where they're actually providing value for the organization. So that's kind of what I do, or that is what I do, and that's where I'd like to contribute. I've had really positive, just on a personal level, update, and that is that in my local town, we're already got a group. I've found a venue, and I've found someone who's willing to help facilitate a series on leadership in our local town. And yes, South Africa very much needs that at the moment. So I'm looking forward to helping deliver that in person as opposed to virtually here. So the power of influence, what's the definition of that? And there are various definitions about this. And I just think, I mean, from what I wrote there, it's the capacity to have an effect on the character and the development, and most especially the behavior of your team to achieve the results that you've set out for them. And I just think that we kind of overcomplicate this a little bit. And it's absolutely crucial to our role to actually have a leader. People crave leadership. People want leadership. And I've noticed that in so many instances where you sort of go into a room and you see something, or there's something happening, and people just gravitate automatically to the person who puts up their hand and makes an announcement, for example. And then all of a sudden, their attention is focused on that person and what they have to say. Now, just two or three final comments from me before I throw the floor open. And that is, I've actually mostly been in instances where I've had to build a team from scratch. So it was me in the beginning, and automatically by employing people and inviting them to be part of my team, I guess I had the influence there. One of the most daunting roles I ever had was with a university in Australia, in Melbourne. And that was one of the few positions where I was plucked out of nowhere in Tasmania to come and lead a development team at a university in Melbourne. And whilst I grew the team quite considerably, I think the first meeting I went to, there must have been about 13 managers and what have you. And all of a sudden, I was thrown completely out of kilter because I had to impress them. I had to influence them. And I had to come in with the credentials to show them that why I was appointed to the role. And that, to me, was quite terrifying, to be honest. But nonetheless, it really worked out well. I introduced myself. My credentials were sufficient, obviously, and the guy that introduced me was the professor that appointed me, and he talked me up very well and gave me a wonderful introduction. He was an incredible speaker, and he did a good job of introducing me. So that was really something very daunting for me in demonstrating my influence right from the word go. So now I'm going to start with one of my regulars, and then I'm going to come to one of my new people, let's say, and ask them about Penny. How do you influence the people that you are with? And how did you do that from the word go? Can you not talk? Okay, I'm sorry. Well, then that's okay. That's okay. Junior, come on, you give us a start. How do you create that influence from the word go?
I think influence is not so much as going out there to go and influence somebody. It's a matter of going in there to understand what they're doing and then trying to change what they're doing through a better understanding of
Right.
what is standing in their way. And I think that has been probably the most critical thing. How we influenced things was we had a major safety drive. We had a fatality, a lost time fatality, lost time injury rate of over 4.7, I think, on 100,000. So for every 100,000 man hours, we had 4.7 injuries. And to bring that down, we eventually brought it down to 0.4. But how we influenced that was just simply talking to people. It's just getting them comfortable, getting them to sit down to understand what is it, why we want to talk to them. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can do to people is to understand that they've got to influence themselves on the environment, but we got to create a space for them to have that freedom to be able to talk. And I think that's the biggest thing. What we can do as influencers from Whispers, that's how I try to influence it, and it works successfully.
Right.
So it is not so much physically what you're doing yourself or how you show to impress somebody to do something different. It's not that at all. It's about controlling the environment so somebody else can do something. And that's basically what it comes down to, but not doing it for them.
Right. Thank you, Junior. I'm going to follow up on this one too quickly, and that is that asking questions of people is or asking really pertinent, really clever questions, I think, in a new environment shows that you've actually got a good perception and a good understanding of what's happening around you. And the cheat sheet, for want of a better word for that, is I found that in my experience, it was really good to go to the stakeholders of the organization, not just people inside the organization, but those outside of the organization, getting their perceptions of the organization and hearing from them what was going well and what was going badly about your organization that you're in, and then going back into your organization and you asking those questions inside the organization. That was a very useful way of gaining insights that you wouldn't ordinarily have gained in a very quick fashion or immediately. So yeah, asking really perceptive questions to your team is a way of sort of gaining respect and of them learning that you are very perceptive in your organization. James, I don't know if you're able to contribute by talking in your office environment, but you're very welcome to contribute by recalling a story or an instance where you had to build influence in a short amount of time in a new leadership environment.
Yeah, no problem. I'm unconstrained today. It's a relatively empty office, so I don't think I'll bother too many people. Thanks, Junior and Rick as well. So I think maybe my best example of I mean, I've been at this company for just about 5 years, so it's been a minute since I had a kind of new environment. But I think the best kind of parallel I can draw is a couple of years ago we were acquired as a company, and we started bringing various parts of the company together, and we had some really challenging hard deadline projects to work on.
Yeah.
So I think on one of these, so there were a few different challenges. We had a new, what appeared to be a new team, because we had people that we knew, people that we didn't know, and we all had to come together to make, this particular system, or, in time. I think we had three or 4 months to build it. So it was a really challenging project, and I had ownership and responsibility to deliver it. So the way that I engaged with this was, I think there were a few different factors that kind of helped us to be successful in this scenario. So I think building relationships and establishing trust, which you can do in a one-on-one sense, but also one of the tools that I used quite a lot was bringing people together, consulting, including people in the process. So we had a series of workshops that I facilitated, and the way in which I facilitate my sessions is, I charge that kind of social container with the energy, which is aligned to the outcome I want to achieve. There's a really good book on this called Theory U, which talks a lot about change management, and there's kind of some of the stuff it talks about there is drawing on mindfulness techniques, kind of to create a kind of an atmosphere and an environment in what they call a social container. So imagine that we all here, we're in a kind of social field, a social container. And if you want to kind of almost, get the outcome that you desire, you have to arrive in the right way. And for me, this is kind of, we bring these kind of this team of 24 stakeholders together, which we had, giving that, imbuing it with a lot of energy, and saying this, almost creating an undertone. This is an environment we should all be excited to be in. We have a huge challenge, but we're all going to be successful, and kind of, creating that atmosphere through at the start of the call by including people, making sure everyone's introduced to one another. I think creating that environment of trust and safety was really, really essential. So that was what I did at the start of all of these kind of workshops, and just to make sure everyone knew each other. I kept a good record of who did and who didn't know each other. And then that was kind of, okay, we're all excited to be here. Let's get into the work. So that's kind of one of the examples of I think a parallel where we had a huge challenge as a team, and that was kind of some of what I did to kind of foster that influence. And I think as part of that process, me being in the facilitative role, that helped to kind of foster the qualities and the properties to then influence the group, and it was a really successful project.
Fantastic. So you obviously made a difference to your organization with demonstrating the importance of leadership. But just a quick side question here to that is, how many of those people were like digitally connected instead of physically? Because you spoke about, the social fabric or the social glue that held you together. How many of those were virtual?
They were all virtual. So it was 100% for a remote team over 3 time zones.
Wow. Gosh, that to me is a big challenge. And that's the one I'm facing here now too, from the middle of nowhere. Hasifa, are you ready to contribute and to give us a little bit of your ideas and views about, position where you've landed perhaps, and you've had to demonstrate your leadership right from the word go. So I'm going to ask you to unmute and join the conversation.
Okay, thank you. Well, my background being that my experience currently being a director for a company that does recruitment.
Yes.
We recently had, we do recruit from all over the world in the UK. And of course, with that sort of diversity, we've had people from different countries, and it's a challenge for us to be able to nurture them into the culture in the UK. And so leadership has to kick in and influence in a way that you need to, every person is they are used to something different from wherever they're coming from. That's and right. You have to be able to nurture them into the quality of candidate and the values for people in the UK not only the values of people in the UK, but also the values of the company.
That's right.
And yeah, so this has been a sort of a journey for us. First, we've had to be able to have some sort of, for us to be able to nurture them into the values of people in the UK and the values of the company. We've had to go through various series of training, various series of induction, various series of one-to-one sessions with them. So basically, after you've given someone training for them to understand what is required for their job role as a new candidate, which you've mentioned onboarding, which is and it does resonate with our sort of work. So you're looking at 3 months of probation, but
Yeah.
you find that, okay, 3 months is not enough for someone who's coming from overseas.
That's
So
right.
you end up giving about 6 months of probation.
Yeah.
So you're trying to onboard this person and trying to fit them into the job role they actually are supposed, to take on. And not everyone is the same. So some people are quick to understand, quick to learn, comprehend. So you find that you have to have individual sessions
Yeah.
with every candidate. And this goes with the influence that you have to use is your policies and procedures as an organization, away from the policies and procedures of the country, like for the UK. So you have to be able to be a good leader. You have to lead by example.
That's right.
Yeah, and this has been our journey of providing quality care to our clients, and paying attention to every individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a person, as opposed to paying attention to the staff holistically. If you pay attention to staff holistically, then you'll miss out on certain dots that are missing with individuals, and then consequently it could cause lack of quality care. So you influence that by making that they work under policies and procedures.
Look,
Yeah,
this is actually bringing me to my next slide, and that is some of the challenges that people like yourself and James, when you're starting a new team, may be facing. And I was just going to say, that when you've got a big team and someone's perhaps not familiar working in a big team, and getting them to raise their hand to ask a question, or especially if it's, when I say culturally loaded, it might be someone from a culture where they're not encouraged to speak up frequently, and not only are they sort of culturally oppressed, if I can put that word that way, but they're also, because they are in a new culture, just afraid to voice a question, because they might think that they'll be looked down upon, or that they won't be necessarily regarded as skillful. I'm going to quickly flick to the next slide, which there we go. It sort of highlights some of the challenges to building that influence. And yeah, I mean, I'd like you all just to scan that. I'm not going to read it to you, but I suppose the point I'm talking to now is about lack of familiarity with a new environment, where people maybe just, hold on. Okay, I've just got a message from Penny. She's unfortunately not. Oh, are you going to have to leave? Okay, Penny. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon. Okay, no worries. So yeah, it's about lack of familiarity in a new environment, where people may just feel shy, as simple as that. They might not have the confidence. They might not have worked in an environment like this before. They might think that simply by asking a question is a challenge to the authority that's there, and there could be, in a virtual situation, as James has spoken about now too, that they haven't sufficiently built relationships with people around them and in their team. So that is potentially a challenge. And remember, the question they're asking, because it's coming from a different perspective, because it's coming from a different culture, because it's coming from a different level of experience, perhaps, that is actually a very pertinent question, and it completes the puzzle of the problem that you may be trying to solve. Junior, you're an expert in this area about capabilities and perceptions. I'm going to put the timer on you, though. I'm going to give you no more than 3 minutes to chat to Hasifa and James about some of the work that you're doing. And I'll give you 5, actually, because the work that Junior does is incredibly helpful and useful, and he will elaborate on the work that he does around exactly this question about overcoming these challenges.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, initial skepticism starts by you not understanding who you are. Simple as that. I'll share some drawings with you later. If you place yourself in the middle, you got to look left, right, center, up, above, and at the family also, the peers around you. So who are you? How do you describe yourself? Why do you fit into that role, and why do you fill that space? And what's the reason you were promoted? Most people think it's because of what they're doing, how they've been doing things, and that's why they've been promoted, but nobody actually ever discovered who you really are. And so a lot of the things you may have experienced is you may have gone through some personality profiling, you may have gone through some job fit profiling, all those. 90%. Because for a simple reason, it is built on your behaviors and is built on your perceptions. It's not built on what is innately born into you. So this is an area where we focus on too. In terms of business, what you have to do is you're managing complexity. You're not managing people. You're managing the complex relationships between people. That's literally what you're doing. So you're unfamiliar with the area. You haven't been there. You haven't seen it before. That doesn't really matter. What matters is understanding what the people are doing in that space. How do you facilitate? And how do you remove obstacles that are standing between them? Okay. And if anybody's going to resist any change, it is because somebody's not listening to what they're already having a poor experience with within that environment. That's why we resist. It's not that they don't want to change. It's because nobody's listening to what's already happening to them. Now you want them to change and do something else. So why should they listen to you any further? And it's rather so simple. It's just that we don't want to listen because, oh, you're going to change, we're going to do this. There's some directive from on top or whatever. No, it's not that. It's people resist change for simple reasons. Nobody's listening to it. Because if you don't sort out the problem right where they are right now, they're not going to change. They're not going to see what is the benefit for them to change. Now, this leads then into the other one. It's actually nice how you laid it out, Rick, because by listening to people, you immediately establish credibility. If you're credible, they will listen to you. As simple as that. Okay, and that's where a relation is built, and that's where you then start managing expectations. So what is the expectation? What do they want out of you? And then how do you then actually start balancing authority and approachability? The whole thing about here is what is missing in the room is something that my partner quite often talks about is you don't want to go into a room and start throwing darts in the dark, hit and miss something. You got a 20% chance or 30% chance you're going to hit something. 70% chance you're going to miss everything that you need to hit. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to be basically driving off perceptions, opinions, or whatever. As always going to be about somebody else holding a perception or opinion about somebody else. And when somebody utters something that is critical to them, there will be 10 guys out of a group of, say, 15 that will immediately say, no, that's irrelevant. You're just wasting our time. Okay. But it is those moments that is actually where you build your credibility. Say, well, slow down. Listen to what this person is not standing up there to say something just for giggles and whatever you want to call it. But they are there because it's something that's uppermost in mind. So in our work that we've done is we've actually gone to the point where people are so sensitive at the moment. If you ask them, let's put you through some test the hairs stand up, the aggression comes out. Okay. You've already got sufficient information about them because you hired them, put them in a position, and promoted them. So there's something good they're doing. So
Yeah.
what is it? Understand what they're currently doing, okay? And how can they make it better? And the only way you're going to understand how they make it better is for them to be able to tell you. And that's where the problem starts. They don't know how to tell you. They don't know what to tell you and when to tell you. And this is why we went and we said, okay, we're going to change this whole thing. Instead of going to organizations with psychometrics, we've got some powerful tools, and I mean really, really powerful stuff, which is not commonly being used because it's not built on personalization. It's not built on culture or job fits or whatever. It's literally built on who you are as an individual, right down to your core. Now,
Yeah. So
the criticality of what this can do actually scares people so much that they actually push it away. So what we've done is we've turned the thing around. We basically flipped it on them, say, okay, you tell me what's happening to you, you explain it to you, and then we help you explain to other people around you, and we see what is the noise in a room. And then how do you quiet the noise down so people actually start talking. We actually use this successfully to stop arbitration. People were heading for labor court, and we stopped it in less than a week. And it's just by getting people to talk and to understand what is at the critical core that they need to talk about. I think that basically covers it about.
Junior, thank you so much for those insights. Hasifa and James, as you can probably tell, Junior is an expert in this field, which is why I invite him to come along and join me in these conversations, because he does give great clarity to some of the insights around leadership and influence that I'm also very, very interested in. And here we go. Here we go. I've got another person popping in. And let me quickly see if I can. Welcome, Janae, if you can hear us. I can't see you, but very welcome. Thank you for joining us. We've been going for half an hour or so, and we're only on slide 2 about some of the challenges to building influence. But I'm going to go on to the next one, which actually just really summarizes, Junior, what you were saying earlier, setting the tone by demonstrating confidence, competence, and approachability from the start. I think the big challenge that people may face is when you're doing short projects is potentially is consistency. That's certainly the way I see it, because building up a routine, building up a manner around how you communicate in short spaces of time, when you're under the pump, like you were explaining earlier, James, is how you turn up every day. And how you turn up every day is a manner of demonstrating that consistency. I'm going to come in here quickly and ask what tools you use on a daily or weekly weekly level to communicate clearly with your teams and what you find best works for you. I'll come back to you, Hasifa. I'll start with James. And James, what in your tech environment do you do the stand-up 15-minute sprint every day, or how do you approach your communication to articulate your daily and weekly expectations?
So really great question. I think that there's a few different techniques. So we do operate the traditional kind of stand-up, I guess agile ceremonies such as stand-up. There are a few. I'm trying to think where the kind of mutations are. So one of the key ceremonies for us, which is something that we've kind of borne out ourselves, is on every Monday we review our roadmap. Right. As a team. So one of the kind of key things there is to ensure that there is regular and consistent communication about where we're going and why it's interesting, but
Yeah.
also to make sure that we're all aligned around any changes that are happening. So if there are, changes to the roadmap or changes, pivots of direction, that there's a formal way in which that is communicated, and there's a forum construct around that for questions, and for everybody to be involved in that kind of pivot as well. So involvement, inclusion in the direction that you're going in, I think it is really important. For us, our stand-ups are fairly standard. The kind of only mutation that we have is that we, of a morning, review our dashboard as a team. So this is information gathered about the team to display how it's performing. So this is a tool which I've used across a few different teams to great effect to kind of visualize the progress that we're making as a team and to track the things that are important. So surfacing that information again ensures that kind of alignment on how we're all doing, but also allows us to call out and question where, perhaps we could do better or things are going off track, allow us all to have an insight into that. I suppose that kind of team behavior and allow us to intervene as well.
How big are your team meetings, James? How big are they?
Second.
How many participants?
We have a relatively small team, so I have a team of 8.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for those insights. We're going to go to Hasifa and then William. William, you've been off my screen, and I apologize for that. I'm going to ask you to come in after Hasifa, and then Janae has joined us as well. So I'm going to ask Janae to join the chat as well, and it's about how to establish your authority in your team, Janae. So you'll be after William. So let's go, Hasifa.
Thank you. So basically what we do is we have real-time communication for all staff, between management and staff.
Yeah.
And here we created what we call a WhatsApp group for everyone. So staff, in case of any communication, it has to be done real time.
Right. And how big is that group, if I may ask?
Sorry?
How big? How many participants in that group?
We have about 65 people.
Gosh, yeah, that's big.
Yeah. So that includes management and the staff. So communication is done among the staff on real time. If it's to do with quality operations, any communication meetings, supervisions, we do that real time. And if it's any emergencies that are known, of course, this is done considering data protection.
Right.
If it's communication that has to be sent out regarding any client, we don't mention any names. So we basically use their first letter and last letter of their name.
Right.
So between management and the staff communicating and the other staff that are involved in somebody's support or care, they will understand. And those that are not, they will not be able to recognize who they're talking about. But we do that, of course, under data protection. Then we also, we have a system, a CRM system that we use. And this has also real-time communication of tasks that has been done and tasks that have not been done. So as management and operations, we check on the system regularly or promptly to see that things are being done at the right time and by the right people.
Right.
And anything that is missing, any dots that have the system flags or it alerts if there has been any misses or near misses before things escalate.
Right. Okay.
So then here we're able to, in case if there is any emergency, or for example, let's say a staff is late for work.
Right.
Then it will alert the management that so-and-so is, they have not clocked in to visit a client.
Right.
So then you are there as management, you have a replacement to, or you call the individual to find out, is it just their network, or is it just that there is any sort of emergencies that they're facing? So it helps us to understand the quality of care that our staff are offering, and also to be able to real time get onto any sort of undone work.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm just curious, you talk about the system sends up a red flag when someone is late or they haven't done their call. What systems do you use? Is that a big CRM system, or what's that?
Yeah, it's an app. We use an app called Buddy. So
okay.
basically, we all have it on our phones. It can be installed onto a laptop, any digital gadget, and you log into it. So basically, you can actually see it road maps every person that is going out for work.
Right.
As a manager, you're able to understand when people are at work or not, and when they have been at work and at what point they have been there.
Okay. Cool.
Then in case of any tasks that have not been done, still you can easily, and it does alert you that so and so has not completed this task, or they have this task is missing to be done. So you're then able to understand things away from the client's premises, what needs to be done or what has not been done.
Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. Thanks, Hasifa. Thanks for your input there. I appreciate that. I'm really interested to hear that you use WhatsApp on such a large scale. Yeah, that's I'm very interested to hear that. Just as a comment, I use an app called Slack quite a lot. James, are you familiar with Slack? So, and we use Trello as well. So, and you can integrate the tools. Slack and Trello, they're both very friendly with one another, and they work very well, I must admit. The beauty about Slack is that you can have different channels, marketing or sales, marketing, operations, so that if you're sending a message, it's only really pertinent to people in marketing or sales. It'll just go to those people who subscribe to that channel. But yeah, no, it's a good one. So James, you'll have all that expertise there, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, cool. So yeah, I've actually just moved to Google. Everything's gone to Google instead of Microsoft. I was just having trouble integrating that with my email, Microsoft. So anyway, William, I know William's our teacher. He's our IT pro up in Northwest Province. I don't know if you can hear us, William. If you can, you're welcome to quickly add to the conversation. There he is. Hi, William. Well,
thanks, Rick. Yeah, at our organization, I think communication is the key, because we are working with different people each and every day, where miscommunication can also be misquoted, and then you are in trouble. So as Hasifa said, we also have got different platforms, and the main reason we have these different platforms is to hear all the voices, because some of the people don't want to talk face to face. But if you can say there's a suggestion box, please raise any concern. And we also have WhatsApp groups
Right.
For kids who are doing coding and robotics. We communicate with parents other than them, because they are still minor. They are 4 years, 5 years. So we have to use our parents' channel to communicate with all that we need, or if a parent has got a problem, we use that platform.
Okay.
And yeah, that is what we usually use. And we've got a program for matriculants, and that is when we usually use Google Meet, because we encourage all the learners to have Gmail account, so that our communication is clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look, I agree with you too. I think you know, the advantages or the benefits of having free Gmail, Meet, and Teams, and all that kind of stuff, that really is a big advantage to you, William. Thank you so much for joining us and clarifying that. I'm not sure, Jenny, I know we can't see you, but is there in your groups, I'm curious, because Jenny is a estate agent in Cape Town, one of the top estate agents down there, and can you quickly give us an idea of how you all communicate with one another, Jenny? That's if you can talk. Doesn't sound like that she can join us. Guys, we've really rocked along very well. I'm going to give us another 5 minutes before we bail out. And I just wanted to I've got a few more slides, but I'm going to really fly through these. If there's anyone who would like to perhaps recall a story or come in around any one of these points, you're very welcome to. I was actually going to flick through the one about building trust, because over the last couple of weeks, we've delved a lot into building trust, which is the very bedrock. That's the foundation. That's the bottom of the triangle, really, in having a great stint as a leader. So it's building trust. But then I think this one is quite interesting for me too, because when you've been employed to come in and lead a team, you're there as a leader, and probably only 30% of what I've found in my career has actually been about the competence in me actually doing my role. That has been, you know, where I've been called on to actually help with some of the technical stuff that we were doing in our programs. Certainly, the overall concepts, I demonstrated my leadership in previous roles. But yeah, I'm interested, James, if you can come in. When you've got a team, and I know you'll obviously choose, and I'm not an IT person, but you know, areas that people that have come from different parts of your team. Let's use a rugby as a bit of an analogy. You'll have your, you know, your forwards and your backs, and they all have different skills. Now, in an IT project like yours, you'll have different areas of your team where people have different skills. How do you get across that as a leader, where you may not be very you know, au fait with one of your specialists? How do you manage them, and how do you stay informed about what they're up to and whether they genuinely are up to speed?
Yeah, good question. So for us, I think one of the things that we try and do as much as possible is be a cross-disciplinary team.
Yeah.
So not everybody at any one point in time has the same or equivalent skills, and obviously, you know, people as they get involved with projects, there's disparities that emerge in those skill sets, and then depending on your, the team that you're coming into, those disparities might be quite large. So, you might have database experts, or you might have other ends of the spectrum, somebody who's really good at cloud or the front end. So I think that the key for me, how I approach this, is to play to strengths, depending on what you're doing. So you do want to draw on the strengths and where people can deliver the most value quickly. We tend to have a lot of, probably the same as everybody, a lot of projects that need delivering yesterday. And in order to do that, you have to play to strengths. But I think as well, it's important that when you don't have that kind of pressure, to make sure that you are kind of cross-pollinating those skills, which is one of the challenges our team is going through at the moment, is making sure that everyone has the exposure to build skills in the technology in which they're less familiar. So in our team, we don't so much have kind of specialists in one area or another, but we have at the moment people who have probably a degree more skill in, say, front-end development or back-end development or cloud development. And those are the people that, when we're looking at projects, depending on kind of agency, urgency, time pressure, other constraints, then I will very strongly encourage those people to kind of get involved where the strengths count, but try and balance that. And then I think the other part of the question was how you kind of manage that. So I have a delivery. At the moment, I'm maintaining a 6-week kind of delivery plan where I have all of the work that I'm kind of thinking about, all the work that we have materially planned, kind of placed, and then that gives me that kind of granularity of inspection. So if I want to kind of look at a particular individual, see what we're working on, I have that ability, and then that's kind of how I manage that, and then through one-to-ones, kind of manage kind of skill gaps and things like that.
Okay, cool. Thanks, James. I can tell there's a lot of stuff that you can be able to contribute to this debate, and I'm really thrilled that you were able to join us today. So thanks for that contribution. I appreciate that. I'm certainly enlightened myself about stuff like that. Hasifa, would you like to come in there also and just chat a little bit about how whether certain people in your teams are really up to speed? In other words, that they meet your expectations in terms of their technical skills, that you can give them a project and know confidently, yes, they're going to manage this one, or this person's going to need more help from you. Perhaps you might be able to just enlighten us there, because you're obviously part of a big team.
Yeah, well, our team being that our it's non-virtual, so
Right.
it's more of practical. So first, we always have to go through, every staff has to go through a process of induction. Then from induction, we do supervision. So under supervision, we are interacting with the staff, and as either supervision with the manager or a senior coordinator. So here you're trying to understand, are they up to speed with all their duties and responsibilities as
Right.
a worker. Then we have a scale of 1 to 10. How are they performing? And
Right.
this also, and of course with feedback from the staff herself, himself, how they feel about their role and where they are. And
so it's kind of a self-assessment. How much?
Yes, self-assessment. So when they go to the field to work, we usually, what we do is they do what we call shadowing,
Right.
another member, and in this way we're still able to understand how they're doing. We get an assessment from the person that they were shadowing, and to give us an idea how they were working, how they were doing, from every different client. And through this, we understand if they're meeting targets, or if they need some more training, more supervision, or if they're able and confident to go to work or by themselves. We call them non-workers.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hasifa. Junior, we've got 2 minutes to go, and then I'm going to be punctual on today because I'm conscious of everyone's time. Junior, I'm giving you a minute, and then I'm going to close off the last minute. So perhaps if you'd like to talk to that.
Rick, yeah, it's very strong from situation to situation.
Right.
Simple as that. I think with our work that we're currently doing is trying to establish capability or trying to establish what they're actually doing is not so much of an issue. It's rather how we integrating them, if I can put it that way. I think that's more of a thing that we have to look at. If I, if I listen to James, what they're doing is virtual, so they can do it that way, because basically a lot of them don't humanly interact, although there is instances where they need to. But if we go back to our CFIS context, that is a very personal one-to-one. So certain dynamics stand out between those two. But one is the personal dynamics is less likely virtually to get into each other's hair. But if you're in a virtual situation where stress is happening and things happening around you, in a physical situation, it's totally different. So I think what it needs for somebody in that leadership position is to have that ability to flex between those realities which we are actually facing now with a work from home and a non-work from home, and integrating the two, because there's always going to be components of a work that's not going to be able to be done virtually. It's going to have those that is forced to. I think that's the biggest thing. Those who are forced to due to circumstances, technology tools or whatever they're doing, or the nature of the work, that they're forced to actually work in physical, and then having to marry that up with people who are actually losing touch. And that's one of the critical things that's happening now is with work from home, young people coming into organization, actually not coming into organization, not getting a critical exposure, and they're not learning the critical new skills, especially human skills. And that interaction has get lost. So you actually never get to really appreciate, is this somebody that will develop into a future leadership position or something? Do we actually need them to develop into that? And then also there's the issue of problem solving and things like that. Not having warm contact with people around you, it makes it much more difficult to do problem solving, because you're actually not intuitively connected to each other. And that's just one of those human things. So James, was probably something that you guys are experiencing, is that sometimes the perception of what's being done is because there is no close relationship between people, may strangle that ability to actually resolve problems faster, which is why they will predominantly hire much more experienced people or qualified people. And you've got a problem potentially there, that you then turn people into experts because you're not getting fresh new blood coming in consistently to actually add to the mix, because in a remote position, to bring somebody that's inexperienced, if I can put it that way, it becomes much more difficult for them to actually function. So in a way, this has actually hampered them in the longer term.
Junior, thank you so much. Excellent points. It actually is a good link to a conversation I had only this last week. A chap in Ireland works in tech, but like you, James, they found that because graduates actually graduated during COVID and have worked a great deal of time from home in their first positions, and then expected them to fly in or commute into work, into an office environment, that hour or so, or hour and a half in some instances, that they were commuting to work and going home every evening was adding an extra 2 or 3 hours to their day. And these young, fresh graduates and employees and interns were just absolutely exhausted. They just weren't used to having such a long day at work in a physical environment. And that sort of inhibited their development, their communication, their relationship building, and was a major impediment to the work balance. Look, guys, I'm going to thank Junior, Francis, Jenny, Hasifa, James, and William. I must put my final slide on. This is a bit of a pitch for myself. And yeah, it's around leadership development, 1 to 5 years, 5 years onwards. And it's also about helping graduates settle into new roles, and it's into helping people who've never been in a leadership role before. Perhaps they may be introverted a little bit, but it's giving them the roadmaps to succeed. So if any of you would like to have a chat with me, please do so through LinkedIn. Thank you so much, James. Thank you so much, Hasifa. Thank you so much, Janae, for joining us for the first time. William, you're a regular now. You've been to a couple. And obviously, Junior is a regular as well. And thank you guys so much for your time. And yeah, good luck with your leadership journey. And I'd love to see you guys again. So please feel free to join us 2 o'clock South African time, 1 o'clock UK time. Okay, guys. Cheers. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thanks all.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.